Among the coronavirus outbreak, China has been hit with another virus outbreak that could be far deadlier if transmitted to humans, killing up to 60% of the people that get infected. That's what I'm going to be talking about in this video, but before I do that, I want to thank Leah Jones for sponsoring this video. Leah Jones runs a YouTube channel called Not Only Carrots, which includes delicious vegan recipes and health tips. And some of her recipes include raw vegan cheesecake with raspberry topping, meaty vegan sausages, and Aussie vegan pizza. Click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen or the link in the video description to subscribe to Not Only Carrots on YouTube today. Now back to the recent virus outbreak in China. An online post entitled, "Amid the coronavirus outbreak, China is now also fighting deadly bird flu in chickens," by BusinessInsider.com states, according to the South China Morning Post, China's Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs reported an animal outbreak of the often fatal H5N1 bird flu in thousands of chickens in the Hunan province, which borders the Hubei province to the south. The farm has 7,850 chickens and 4,500 of the chickens have died from the contagion. Local authorities have culled 17,828 poultry after the outbreak, a statement by China's Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs said on February the 1st. There are no reported human cases of the H5N1 avian flu, according to South China Morning Post, and transmission of the disease to humans is rare. Nearly all cases of avian flu infection in people have been associated with close contact with infected live or dead birds or H5N1 contaminated environments, according to the World Health Organization. However, the outbreak is a cause for concern because the bird flu has a 60% mortality rate among infected humans, according to the World Health Organization. Additionally, the H5N1 bird flu can cause severe respiratory illness, including pneumonia and neurological changes such as an altered mental state and seizures. If the H5N1 virus were to change and become easily transmissible from person to person while retaining its capacity to cause severe disease, the consequences for public health could be very serious, WHO said in a statement. This reminds me of the novel coronavirus outbreak. Bats are known carriers of the latest strain of the disease, but until lately, it didn't have the ability to infect humans. However, the novel coronavirus is said to have undergone a mutation which enabled it to jump from animals to humans. The most likely source of the coronavirus is believed to be a fish and livestock market in Wuhan, where bats were sold for the purpose of consumption. Chinese people, especially in Wuhan, considered bats a delicacy and would make bat soup out of them. Now, one of the differences between the novel coronavirus and the recent bird flu outbreak in China is the mortality rate. The mortality rate for the coronavirus is around 2%, while the bird flu mortality rate is 60%. To put that into perspective, at the making of this video, there have been around 60,000 confirmed cases of the coronavirus, with about 1,400 deaths. If there was a bird flu outbreak among humans of similar magnitude, 60,000 cases would result in 36,000 deaths. Now that's highly unlikely to happen at the time because the bird flu isn't easily transmitted to humans. But there have been cases of bird flu transmissions to humans in the past, and if the bird flu mutates like the coronavirus did, it could spread rapidly and cause a lot of fatalities. In addition, after the bird flu outbreak in Hunan province, there was another bird flu outbreak in a different Chinese province. An online post entitled, "Another bird flu outbreak confirmed in China," by NKH World Japan states, Chinese Agriculture Ministry says the highly pathogenic H5N6 strain of bird flu has been confirmed at a poultry farm in the southwestern province of Sichuan. The ministry says that 1,840 out of 2,500 chickens at the poultry farm died of avian flu caused by the H5N6 virus. The remaining chickens were culled to prevent the infection from spreading. Earlier this month, the ministry said that the highly pathogenic H5N1 strain of bird flu was detected at a poultry farm in Hunan province. Chinese authorities are apparently stepping up measures against a series of bird flu outbreaks, as they also contend with the spread of new coronavirus infections in the country. The bird flu has been labeled as a ticking time bomb by experts, according to an online post entitled "Bird Flu, China's Ticking Time Bomb of Infectious Disease" by ccn.com, which states, "With a mortality rate of 60%, the bird flu is as deadly as Ebola. While it doesn't currently spread well among humans, experts believe it can mutate into more virulent forms. This is a ticking time bomb." In addition, most of the recent emerging infectious diseases come from animals. An online post entitled "Diseases from Animals and Insects" by the Arkansas Department of Health states, approximately 75% of recently emerging infectious diseases affecting humans are diseases of animal origin. Approximately 60% of all human pathogens are zoonotic, which means they come from animals. Some of those diseases are transmitted through the bite of an animal, such as rabies from animals infected with the rabies virus, or diseases spread through the bite of a tick or mosquito. Others are spread through non-bite animal contact or even result from contamination of the environment by animals. Some examples of infectious and deadly diseases that have emerged in the recent past, aside from what I already mentioned in this video, include SARS, which broke out in 2002, and MERS, which was first reported in 2012. SARS originated from civet cats in China, and MERS came from camels in Saudi Arabia. Chinese people are known for eating civet cats, and camels were a delicacy in Saudi Arabia up until their ban in 2015 after a surge of deaths from MERS. Ebola is another disease of animal origin that affects humans. The disease was first identified in 1976, and fruit bats are believed to be the source of it. In 2014, there was an Ebola outbreak in West Africa where bushmeat was the suspected cause. An online post entitled "Ebola, is bushmeat behind the outbreak?" by BBC.com states, "Bushmeat, or wild animal meat, covers any animal that is killed for consumption, including antelopes, chimpanzees, fruit bats, and rats. It can even include porcupines and snakes. In some remote areas, it is a necessary source of food. In others, it has become a delicacy. In Africa's Congo Basin, people eat an estimated 5 million tons of bushmeat per year, according to the Center of International Forestry Research. But some of these animals can harbor deadly diseases. Bats carry a whole range of viruses, and studies have shown that some species of fruit bats can harbor Ebola. Most of the animals where the infectious diseases I have been talking about come from, like civet cats and bats, are identified by the Bible as unclean. And so it's no surprise that people who eat them get sick sometimes. Leviticus chapter 11 in the Bible categorizes specific animals as clean or unclean. Those animals which are unclean are unfit for consumption, while those which are clean are fit for consumption. For example, in talking about the pig, verses 7 through 8 says, "And the swine, though it divides the hoof, having cloven hooves, yet does not chew the cud, is unclean to you. Their flesh you shall not eat, and their carcasses you shall not touch. They are unclean to you." Notice, not only does it tell us not to eat them, it also tells us not to touch their carcasses, probably to avoid the spread of disease from infected pigs and other unclean animals to humans. But not only are we seeing devastating results from people eating or handling unclean animals, which is to be expected because it's a clear violation of God's word, even clean animals are being infected with diseases that can be spread to humans, like chickens and the bird flu. So maybe that's a sign that we should adopt a more plant-based diet. Did you know that the original diet God gave to mankind was a plant-based diet? After creating Adam and Eve, God said to them in Genesis chapter 1 verse 29, "I have given you every herb that yields seed which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you it shall be for food." Seed-bearing plants are fruits, so this was actually a fruitarian diet. In protest, people tell me sometimes, well, that changed after the fall. Then mankind started eating meat. But that's not completely true. We know how Adam and Eve's diet changed after the fall because Genesis chapter 3 verse 18 tells us. There, God told Adam, "You shall eat the herb of the field." Herbs, in other words vegetables, were added to their diet, possibly to make up for something they were lacking from the Garden of Eden. Adam lived to be 930 years old, and we have no record that he ever ate meat. Quite the contrary, the evidence suggests that he, along with Eve, were lifelong plant eaters, because God didn't allow mankind to eat meat until after the flood, which was after Adam died. Genesis chapter 9 verse 3 records the first time God allowed people to eat meat, stating, "Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. I have given you all things, even as the green herbs." God told this to Noah and his family after they departed from the ark. And the reason God permitted them to eat meat was likely because the floodwaters had destroyed the vegetation on the earth. And so this was really an emergency provision. I don't think God intended them or mankind to make meat eating a regular habit. Something that confirms this is Israel's 40 years of desert wandering because God fed them with manna. Exodus chapter 16 verse 35 says, "And the children of Israel ate manna 40 years until they came to an inhabited land. They ate manna until they came to the border of the land of Canaan." Manna, or bread from heaven, which it was also called, was described in verse 31 as like white coriander seed, and the taste of it was like wafers made with honey. This was plant food. Now there were 2 instances where God provided quail for the Israelites to eat in the desert, but that's because they persisted in having it. I think Israel's desert journey and God feeding them with manna is an important lesson for us today. First of all, we see that God was leading the Israelites back to adopting the original diet before entering the Promised Land, a plant food diet. And Israel's desert journey and possession of the Promised Land of Canaan is symbolic of the end times. Hebrews chapter 11 verses 8 through 10 reveals that Canaan symbolizes the city of God, the New Jerusalem. It states, "By faith Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out to the place which he would receive as an inheritance." It's talking about Canaan. "And he went out, not knowing where he was going. By faith he dwelt in a land of promise as in a foreign country, dwelling in tents with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. For he waited for the city which has foundations, whose builder and maker is God." God is the builder and maker of the New Jerusalem, which has 12 foundations, according to Revelation chapter 21 verse 14, not the literal territory of Canaan. The New Jerusalem is the land of promise that Abraham ultimately looked forward to. Canaan symbolized that. And I'm saying this to say that the diet reform that God instituted for the Israelites in the desert illustrates a work of diet reform that God is performing for his church in these last days. I believe that God wants us to return to the original diet, which is a plant-based diet, especially considering how increasingly dangerous it is becoming to eat meat, both clean and unclean meat. It was never really safe to eat meat that the Bible calls unclean, but now it's getting to the point that even clean meat is risky. One reason I mentioned is because of the bird flu in chickens, but I would like to also address mad cow disease. An online post entitled, "Mad cow disease is still a threat, but we might finally have a blood test for it," by ScienceAlert.com states, "Mad cow disease, or bovine spongiform encephalopathy, is one of the scariest and strangest conditions of the past 20 years. The degenerative disease is spread through infected cow meat and blood transfusions and causes rapid brain decay. It's always fatal, and there's no cure. But most terrifying of all, doctors have never been able to test for it and still aren't sure how many people could be infected, which is why many people who lived in the UK during the 80s and 90s still aren't allowed to donate blood. For those young enough to remember the big mad cow disease scare of the 90s, the condition seemed to appear out of nowhere, causing fatal degeneration of the brain and spinal cord. The first symptoms are usually depression and hallucinations, which are followed rapidly by dementia and loss of motor control. Within a year of symptoms arising, most patients will be dead. In cows, it often takes 2.5 to 5 years for symptoms to appear, and incubation periods as long as 50 years have been reported in humans. Recent studies have suggested that as many as 1 in 2,000 people in the UK might carry abnormal prions, which is the cause of mad cow disease, and thousands of people around Europe could still be infected. If there was ever a time to avoid eating meat and return to the original diet of our creator, now is the time. If you'd like to try a plant-based diet but aren't sure how to do that, don't forget to subscribe to Leah Jones's channel, Not Only Carrots, by clicking on the card in the upper right-hand corner of the screen or the link in the video description, and check out her vegan recipe videos. Outbreaks of infectious diseases from animals to humans seem to be on the rise in recent decades, including Ebola, SARS, MERS, mad cow disease, and the new coronavirus. And recently the bird flu killed off a bunch of chickens in China, and if the virus becomes as infectious as the coronavirus, it will make the coronavirus look like a runny nose in comparison. 75% of recently emerging infectious diseases affecting humans are diseases of animal origin. Consequently, it is becoming increasingly unsafe to eat meat, even meat from animals which the Bible identifies as clean. The best course of action is to return to the original diet that was designed for us by our creator, which is a plant-based diet. Not only will a plant-based diet greatly reduce the chances of you becoming infected by a diseased animal, it has other benefits like strengthening your immune system to help you fight disease. Do the emerging diseases from animals that affect humans concern you, and has this video led you to consider trying a plant-based diet? Let me know in the comments section. By the way, I'm having a sale in my Christian t-shirt store right now, which includes 10% off on all of my shirts. I'm doing this because all of my coronavirus videos up until this point have been demonetized by YouTube, and I'm pretty sure this video will be demonetized as well. So this sale will help fund my channel. Click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen or the link in the video description to check out my store. Also, if you would like to support my channel with a donation or monthly pledge of any amount, links to my PayPal and Patreon accounts are in the video description. Your support helps keep my channel going. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell if you're new so you don't miss any of my future uploads. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like it and share it. Click on the screen to check out some more of my videos. Thank you for watching, and God bless you.